Okay. Hey everyone, this is Cletus Coffee. Welcome back to the Recovering Athlete. And I am so fortunate here to have my guest today is Lauryn Williams. And I am really excited to bring Lauryn Williams' story to the Recovering Athlete podcast, not because of what she's accomplished as an athlete, but yet what she has done after sport and the things that she's doing now and the transition she's made because like all of us, there's a process in making that transition, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. And Lauryn, I know, has a fantastic story. So, just Lauryn, what I pretty much will have introduced you at this point. So, I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time to join me here.
It is good to be here. I think this is a really good podcast, well needed, and I'm excited to share my story with you all today.
Excellent. So, I'm going to give them a little bit of insight. Just people who have been following me and know me that my athletic journey has been in the football realm, but yet track and field has been something that has been near and dear to my heart. So I have, you know, kept kept up with the track and field athletes and people. And, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so Tracktown, USA isn't too far away. It's kind of in our backyard here, so it's easy to keep in touch with the track and field community. But if people don't want to hear it from me, they want to hear it from you. So why don't you just give us, a snapshot of Lauryn Williams, the athlete, kind of where you came from and eventually where you ended up.
All right, let's see if I can tell my life story in maybe 5 minutes or less.
Ready to go.
33 years in 5 minutes. So yeah, I'm born in Pittsburgh, raised between Pittsburgh and Detroit, Michigan. Well, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Detroit, Michigan. Um, Started running track when I was 9 years old. Did pretty much every sport known to woman during my childhood years, from karate to ballroom dancing, softball, basketball, you name it. But was always naturally fast. And it was one of those things where I started to run faster than boys my age. Then I started to run faster than boys that were older than me. And people were like, hey, we're on to something here. And so depending on who you ask, my mom, my dad, about how I got really like involved in track, they both try to take the credit. But like I started to be in more consistently. They realized I had some talent, and my main thing was like education. I always wanted to get an education. I always wanted to be smart. I always wanted to be the smartest kid in the class. And then I realized like this track thing could take me to college. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So when I started getting these letters in the mail saying like, hey, we'll pay for you to go to college. And I had five sisters, two brothers, no college fund set up or anything like that. I was like, oh, track is a lot more fun when someone's going to pay for me to get the thing that I really want, which is an education at the university. Well, it was an education period at the time, but it became an education at the University of Miami. And so I went to the University of Miami at 17 years old, and I was just so grateful to my coach for giving me the opportunity to get this free education that I wanted to pay her back by doing the best job I could on the track. And that's where my passion started to grow. It was like, going out there every day, putting my best foot forward. I mean, I was a natural born competitor. I always wanted to win, but I wasn't necessarily passionate about track until I got to college and really started to be nurtured under my coach. And so in just 3.5 years, I was at the college national championships. I hadn't won. I'd made it to nationals my freshman and sophomore year, but I was not victorious in any of those. And so I kind of had this chip on my shoulder my junior year, just saying, I'm going to win. I'm going to figure this out. I am going to do everything I need to be a great athlete. And I'm coming home with the title. And not only did I come home with the title, but came home with the title of the second fastest person in the world so far that year. And that's when people really started to turn their eyes and say like, hey, this girl's fast. Like, she's the fastest American right now. It's the Olympic year. Like, we got to figure out if this is going to be our next Team USA member. So my coach guided me through the process to become a professional athlete. I made the 2004 Olympic team and earned a silver medal there. And turned pro. Luckily, I was able to get my last year of college paid for because, like I said, my education was really important to me. So I didn't have to come out of, any funds on my own. So I was really grateful for that as well. And looked at my pro career and said, all right, we're off and we're running. So 2008, made the Olympic team again. Felt a lot more pressure in 2008 because it was my job, whereas in 2004, it's kind of like, hey, whatever, I'm going to go out there and try my best. But and I got fourth in 2008 in the 100 meters. And then 2012, I only made it for the relay. But that's where I really started to grow and learn and, kind of become a grown up track and field athlete, if you will. I think I was just kind of along for the ride for most of my career. But in 2012, it was like, oh, okay, what really matters? Team USA matters. This team matters. Even if I don't compete in the finals of this relay team, what can I do to help them win? And, being able to switch my mentality from being individual to team focused and really do what was in the best interest of the team was something you didn't realize in the moment that was really important way to grow, but it helped me so much for what was coming next. And what was coming next was bobsled. In 2013, last year of competing in track and field, I was set on being able to transition and move on with life. And bumped into Lolo Jones in the airport, and I said, I read an article about you having tried bobsled. How does that work? And she told me a little bit about it, and she said, you'd be great for it. You're powerful. And, I didn't really know what I was going to do after track. I had some ideas, and I was like, that sounds awesome. I sent a guy an email, and like a month later, I was at the USA Championships for bobsled. And like I said, what 2012 did was set me up for the whole team aspect and really, showing up with genuine intentions to make sure that the team succeeded in no matter what. And I think that's really what helped me succeed in a matter of 6 months and do well in bobsled. And so I earned a silver medal there. I became the first American woman to medal in both the Summer and the Winter Olympics. And now I have transitioned once again. Should I stop there and let you ask me something?
Yeah, let me jump in here because, that rolls off so smooth.
That
And
was like 10 minutes. Sorry.
I want to make sure people understand the impact of, what you have done as an athlete, what you've done for this country. And you may have to correct me if I'm wrong because I did a little bit of research just trying to make sure I was on point here for this conversation. But yes, you are the first American woman to ever medal in both Olympics, both summer and winter. And am I right? You're one of 5 people who have ever done that as well.
That is correct.
So uh, the list, the laundry list of your success as an athlete, one of 5 people to ever medal in both games. I mean, that is just you're not specialized in one individual thing. Obviously, you're a sprinter. You can compete on the relays. You're a bobsledder. It really is a testament to one of the most dynamic athletes that this country has ever seen. Let alone being one of the fastest women in the history of this planet on the track. Really, I think it says a lot to your hard work, and you're very humble about it, which is really cool. Your character with it. But I want to make sure people are listening to really understand that this is some big stuff here.
Thank you.
And so there was something that I found online, and you touched on it there just a little bit, which was in 2012. I heard you say something online about I went from the individual to mentoring the youngsters that were coming up, the kind of the new wave of athletes. Tell me more about that. What was that transition like from being Lauryn Williams, the 2004 silver medalist, to 2012? Now you're a veteran in the sport, kind of on your way out.
hmm
What was it like? What was that process like mentoring young tracksters?
I think the main thing is realizing that all these experiences that you're having in life add up to something, and I think that's what we miss sometimes, and we're not able to learn or grow or be better or reach our full potential because we don't realize that XYZ thing that happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago is now going to help you in this present moment. And so for me, those things were in 2004 we dropped the baton. 2008 we dropped the baton, and then 2012 I had this opportunity, and it was kind of like this weird moment where and in 2004 and 2008, for those that don't know, I was a part of the actual botched handoff. It wasn't like I was just competing in that race and we dropped the baton. I was the person being handed off to. And so, no matter what, I have to accept some responsibility. You can say, oh, the person left too early, left too fast, didn't put it in my hand. There's countless other things you can, do to try to, make excuses. The point is that, like, it was up close and personal, our failure in 2004 and 2008, where we both times we had the opportunity to break the world record in addition to winning a gold medal, and we went home with nothing. So to get to the 2012 games, have a brand new team of, all new people that, weren't there in '04 or '08. This is their first Olympic Games. And this being kind of like, hopefully the third time is a charm for me. And then realizing that, I got 6th at the USA trial, so I'm probably not going to be one of those final four. Um, but knowing like what can I do to make this situation different for them than it was for me. And one of the things people don't realize about the relays is, like I said, you can put the four fastest people out there, but the most important thing is getting the stick around. So you can put four mediocre fast people out there, and if they got better chemistry, they get the stick around. You got a winner, and then you got somebody who dropped the baton. And it was really important to me to be able to convey to them the importance of good chemistry, uh, and know that that was more important than me being out there to be able to compete. Because easily, as a track and field prima donna and a sprinter, particular, it's easy to just say, it's all about me. Let me figure out how I can boot two of these girls out of here so I can get up and be one of the four. Like you said, I've got the most experience. I'm the veteran. Let me put one of these rookies on the bench so that I can, have the opportunity to be in the final. And that wasn't my mindset at all. It was, how do we make this team succeed? How do we keep the energy positive? Because truth be told, in 2004 and 2008, the negative energy that we stepped on the track is really what caused us to fail. Like I said, it doesn't matter who went out too fast or who went too slow or, what was happening in that moment. The energy is what I feel like was the reason that we failed. And so being able to communicate to them that despite the fact that we're all going to compete in, individual events, race against each other, in 1 week's time, and then, get off the track the next day and try and become a relay. We've got to figure out how to work together. These are not your enemies. These are not your rivals. And you can't think of them as such. Not when you're competing against them in the 100 and not when you're competing with them in the relay. And figuring out how to convey that, I think, was the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, between '04, '08, and 12, which, if you had to pick one, I mean, what was your favorite Olympic?
12. I'm still going to say 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was just three totally different experiences. So 2004, I was a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
Had no idea what to expect. It was a really cool games, the home of where the Olympics were born. So, to start my career in that position was awesome. '08, I just think the pressure of, like I said, the one who beat me in '04 was not participating. And, people were looking at me as like America's girl and I've got to be the gold medalist, et cetera. I think I let that get to me a little bit. And China was not the best environment overall. So that would not be my favorite games.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2012, London, it's a westernized country. The weather was okay. We were familiar. It was well set up. Everything was very organized. So there were just a lot of things working in my favor. And like I say, in addition to me having grown to a place to be able to really enjoy the experience, because you get to Olympic Games and sometimes you're so focused and you're so wound tight that you don't even remember what happened. You don't remember sitting on the stoop laughing with your friends or meeting somebody from another country. And sometimes the experiences that you have, like, you still have them, but you don't get to really enjoy them or absorb them in a way that's worthwhile, if you will. I won't say that, it's necessary, but it's definitely worthwhile to be able to take all that in.
Okay, so now since I can only ask this to one of five people in the world here, which is sweeter, a winter medal or a summer medal?
They are different.
How so?
Very, very different. In Winter Games, so to put it in perspective, I think in 2012, if I remember correctly, there were 182 on the track team. In the Winter Olympics, there were 230 that made up all of Team USA for all sports.
Oh, wow.
So the magnitude of people in the Summer Games versus the Winter Games it's like night and day. So you get a lot more intimate environment where you get to meet other people from other sports and stuff at the Winter Games. And it's just a little bit more community oriented in that sense, where you get to hang out, you get to, like I said, interact and know people a little bit more in a more cool, calm, collected way. Whereas, like I said, Summer Games, very high intensity. Feel like a lot is riding on that, endorsement opportunities, et cetera. So it just, like, I was just a little bit more high strung, if you will. But I mean, I was a track and field athlete for my whole life. So
Yeah.
It definitely was both were very enjoyable.
Yeah. And what I love that you referenced there is, as athletes, as human beings, really that path to success has failures along the way. And '04 and '08 where some pretty big fit, excuse me if I'm calling it a failure, but an obstacle towards the big result, and with some challenges that you guys had. So, how did you overcome those low points from '04 to '08 to prepare yourself for life, or for 2012? How'd you get yourself back up?
Well, I think it was around '08 where I made the 24-hour rule. So, at some point you realize that the negativity has to stop. You can't, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be sad, to recognize and, kind of take in and dwell on the moments that you don't shine. I think you need to do that in order to be great and to be able to move on to, the next thing. But you can't sit there and dwell on it forever. And so the 24-hour pity party was born. It might have been in '07 actually, where it's like something bad happens. You got 24 hours, pout, be negative, tell people you don't want to talk about it, whatever your thing is that you do. And after 24 hours, let's talk about how to move forward. No more negative talk about what happened, why it wasn't proper, la 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 la. No dwelling on it.
Mm-hmm.
All you can do is think about that moment and how you're going to improve on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really kind of like life changing for me, because people often say, it's all in how your mind works, and it's a lot of lip service, it sounds, but when you really figure that out for yourself and what makes you tick, you really understand that your mind is the most important thing, and how you navigate your mind and prepare yourself mentally for these things that you're going to come up against next will carry you in the future.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that, and I'm going to reach back to something you prefaced from the very beginning, which was you sought out going to the University of Miami as a way to get a free education. So from the start of your track career at Miami, I know it's a lot of work and effort towards building up your skills, your body, your ability to get out there and perform out on the track mentally, physically. But yet, education was still something that was top on your list there. So how did you go from Olympics in '04, and your focus is on being a professional athlete? Where was education, or where was kind of the next step in life during that time frame? Were you thinking about it on the side? Were you doing things to prepare for it, or were you not? Where were you at that stage?
Yeah, so I had a lot of anxiety always about like what's the next thing coming. If you fall down and break your leg, this track money goes away. What are you going to do next? And because, like you said, I had never really planned on it as like, a lifetime goal of mine or something I was going to do for my whole life, I was always kind of like in the back of my brain, what else can I do? So I got a real estate license I think it was around 2006, because I was like, okay, you fall down, you break your leg, you can immediately activate this real estate license and have a job. You don't have to interview. You don't have to, there's not a whole lot that goes into it. People don't turn you away. It's kind of like eat what you kill sort of thing. So that was kind of like one of my backup plans. And then I always had an interest. I was a finance major in college. But I always had an interest in money and how it worked. And I had a financial advisor. Actually, I had two financial advisors, and neither one did a really good job for me. And in learning that, there were different kinds of advisors and that they provided different kinds of services. And, it was all very confusing and muddled. And, I'm just trying to figure out, like, how much money can I spend on a monthly basis? Like, I didn't have a basic budget set up, nor did I have, like, the literacy, from my family to be able to help me set up those sorts of things. And so when I started to ask my friends about it, I was like, what are you guys doing? Who are you using? What does your financial planner do for you? And I was kind of getting these crickets, or, people would change the subject on me, or they'd go the other direction. And I realized, either they had no idea what the person they were working with was doing for them, what services were being provided, or they just didn't have anyone, and they didn't have any plans in place, and they didn't have a budget either. The simple questions I was asking, people were just, you get money, you spend money, you get money, you spend money, and that's kind of how money works. And they just kept it at a basic level like that. And so it just made me a little bit more interested in figuring out how I could do something in the financial industry as a career going forward. And so I was prompted to kind of start with an MBA because, it's kind of like what everybody was getting. It was a new thing that, if you want to be in business, you need an MBA. So in 2008 or 2007, it was 2008, I started an MBA program, and I did that and was doing that online all the way through 2008, through the games, and then 2009. So I was always trying to prepare myself from an education standpoint because I knew I didn't have the flexibility in my schedule to be able to work, 8 hours a day and get work experience. So it's kind of like, how else can I stay up to date so that when this track thing is done, I have something on my resume that someone's going to find worthwhile to hire me. Um, and yeah, if you fast forward to 2012, like I said, kind of got fed up with the second advisor and, like the service I was provided or the lack of service I was provided, and was like, I need to find something that I can do. These are the things that are not being met. How can I figure out how to meet these needs for people? And literally a Google search led me to the certified financial planning coursework. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I was looking for, because, there's like security sales and like product sales where anyone does that, can do that. And, it's very sales oriented. It's not very education oriented or holistic in its approach. And then there's a certified financial planning where, you're looking at a person's whole financial life and their whole financial health and all their goals. And I was like, this is what I wanted people to ask me about. These are the questions that I had that he wasn't, that weren't being addressed. And, from his taxes to estate planning to, like you said, budgeting, all the fundamentals, how much house can you actually afford? And I was like, I'm on to something here. And so I enrolled in that education and I was on to the next step. And I was, moving toward the end of my career, just had 1 year left on my track and field contract. So I think in that respect is where I started to consciously prepare for a transition from sport to life after sport. But all throughout my career, I was preparing, as best I could while competing.
Okay, so then 2013 hits, and you're not quite ready to retire as an athlete, and the bobsled team comes calling. Obviously, you win the silver medal there. So, tell me now, the Winter Olympics is over, and now comes the next step. So, give me an idea on what did that transition look like? As you've been planning here, you've got the finance background, I love it. You're identifying some gaps in the marketplace there and where you could help potentially fill that need, uh, especially for things that you were looking for. I can relate to that tremendously. And
Mm-hmm.
so then comes the idea for worth winning, and there's a transition time between that, or to kind of launching and getting started. Tell me about that.
Tough. That will sum it up. See, I gave you a long-winded response for everything else. That was it. One
But
word, tough.
perfect. You're not alone.
No, really. um, I mean, so it was tough, but I think the main thing was like you finish this thing and you wake up one morning and, like I said, I've networked and, I've been nice to people. I don't really have any enemies or anything like that. And I've got 2 degrees and, I've got a real estate, there's all these things that people say are going to prepare you. And, I saved my money. So I wasn't, like looking for the next check. Like I wasn't just going to take, any job to go find this next thing. And I was like, you're in an awesome position. This is so great. And you wake up and you feel so empty. No one's cheering for you. This thing that you were, you're not anymore. You're not exactly sure who you are. And no matter, like I said, I spent my career kind of trying to make sure that I had something else because I knew I was not just a track and field athlete. But in the moment, or just an athlete, I'll say, in those moments after waking up and, weeks of waking up and not knowing what I was going to do next, like I didn't know who I was besides an athlete. So, I did all this preparing, if you will, but I still had no idea who I was or what I was going to be or what I was going to do. And so I started to just fill my time with getting out. I was like, you can't meet people at home. You can't figure out what this next opportunity is for you at home. You got to be out and about mixing and mingling. And there's no shortage of opportunities that come available for elite athletes. People are happy to use your time and, pay for your flight and a hotel, but not compensate you. So, I was busy, but I wasn't earning an income. I wasn't doing anything that was productive or, made specifically for a mission or a purpose that was going to fulfill me in life. I was just being busy, filling other people's time and kind of like breaking even. Well, not really breaking even because you still had bills you had to pay at home sort of thing. So in my mind, it was like, well, it's not costing me a whole lot to be out and be busy. Um,
And let me ask you, did you know at that point what the purpose was, or the that meaning for you, And you were just out there networking to accomplish that, or did you not know and you were just trying to discover?
I had no idea. I was trying to discover. So it was between finance and, starting this financial company, or, going to work for a financial company, and also a food truck.
Okay, I love it.
That was my other thing. So
What kind of
it was
food?
um, like wholesome food. I always say Whole Foods, and then I feel like I'm giving them like a shameless plug. And
Right.
I'm like, no, 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 I'm not endorsing Whole Foods. I just like food that is real. So, yeah. So it's like a healthy spin on food that like you wouldn't know is healthy. Like I wouldn't market it as vegan or healthy or sugar
Hmm.
free or gluten free or any of that. But a lot of the things that I prepare are, in fact, those sorts of health things, if you will.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, I just want food that tastes good,
There you go.
so yeah, I had no idea like what I wanted to do. I mean, I guess I had some idea of what I wanted to do, but I had no idea about how to go about implementing that, or if I should just go work somewhere else. Because I knew I didn't have a bunch of work experience, and I did do an internship, during that time period in a financial company, and I did go work for a financial firm, but it wasn't in a capacity that where I was gonna like I said, oh, I want to work here for the rest of my life. It was kind of like, yeah, I just want to keep getting some experience, while I figure out what I want to do. And the
Hmm.
person was flexible enough to, allow me to do so. Um, and so, yeah, I was just kind of like, I don't know. I just feel really unfulfilled still. I'm really busy. I don't have any time. But if I'm on my couch, I feel really like, I'm wasting away. Like, who am I? And then you go to some of these events, sporting events or, things that are charitable with donors and things like that for sports. And they say, oh, like, well, what are you doing now? And you didn't have an answer to that question. And it became so painful to be at something where you're schmoozing with people and they said, oh, what are you doing now? And to not know what to say, and then to say, I'm figuring that out, be honest. And then they say, well, you're not going to go into coaching, and
Hmm.
for people to pigeonhole you, they're just trying to create mindless conversation,
Sure.
but like, is that all I am as a coach? But then it's like, oh wait, like a coach is a really important part of an athlete's life. Like it's just that's not who I am, and to think that that's the only thing that an athlete can do was very what's the word? I guess condescending, or it didn't make me feel very good. And so I had to deal with like the emotions of, I said people's kind of mindless comments, if you will, becoming something that I was internalizing and saying, oh my goodness, now this is even worse. I really don't know who I am.
Hmm.
Um, and so being able to kind of sit down, sort through that, I ended up going to a retreat in Ohio where Tony Dungy spoke and 4 or 5 other people. And I think that was kind of like when I realized, like, okay, there's no right or wrong answer to this transition. It's a thing that happens. It doesn't have to happen in X amount of days, at X amount of time. It doesn't look, it doesn't have to look like this any one thing. There's not like step 1, step 2, step 3 to transitioning. It is you taking an active role in your life to say, okay, I'm moving on to create my new identity. This is the next chapter in my life. The same story. I've always been Lauryn. I'm always going to be Lauryn. But what chapter are we turning to now, as opposed to like you are only this one thing. So
Hmm.
that's kind of how it went, and it took about 18 months. This thing I just described to you in this process to get to a point where I felt good about it, and as I said, at the time I was working for a young lady, and she took me to a conference, and I found out there were a bunch of other young planners. So I interviewed around at some other firms to see if I'd be interested in working with them long term, and nobody wanted to work with athletes. They're like, oh, they're a headache. They've got too many things they want. They're high maintenance. There's this, or and I was like, what about Olympic athletes? We don't have as much money. We're not high maintenance. Like, we're awesome. And they're like, yeah, well, you just said you guys don't have a lot of money, so we don't want you guys either.
Ah.
And so, as much as I tried to explore these opportunities, even if I couldn't make a pro athlete division right on the spot, being new to the company, I was like, is that something that could happen down the road? And nobody seemed open to that option. And so that's when I got frustrated. It was like, well, what am I going to do? Because this is who I really want to serve, in addition to young people. And that's when I went to this conference. The girl explained to me, and there were 100 other, young planners that were leaving this kind of old male, stale, and pale thing that we think of as financial advisory, and starting, young, fun financial planning. And it's virtual, and we don't talk down to you, and we say it in terms that you can understand, and we Okay, here's a stock. This is what it is. This is a bond. This is, like, if we got to talk about investments, like, help me understand what that is. Student loans. Nobody's talking about student loans right now. Like, so, yeah, financial planning that is relatable is really like what I'm passionate about. And I found other people that were passionate about it, and I joined that network, and I haven't looked back.
And so now you've launched into the journey of being an entrepreneur. Although I'm going to have you in just a second, because I would think being a professional athlete's got a level of entrepreneurship. I mean, you're in ownership of your marketing and owning your product, which is you. So I'm sure you had some experience in doing that. But there's something about that I caught on your website that I want to read here because I thought it's really relevant to obviously what we're talking about here with recovering athlete, what you just talked about. But you said, as we transition from our athletic career to life after sport, we realize there are other goals and dreams worth winning, like finding love, making a home, starting a family, traveling for fun. And you stated here that you want to help find and fund those dreams because weddings, houses, and kids, and dancing, and rain in Barcelona, all those precious, priceless moments are what matters most. And I don't know many financial planning websites that I'm going to turn to that is going to talk to me like that, which I think is really powerful and really clearly connects the dots, especially for athletes. From especially because you've been there, transitioning from sport to okay, right. There's another passion in me and that I want to be able to find. How did how did how did it come about? How did you start the company? Obviously, you just kind of shared the build up, which I love it, and I just want to reiterate what I heard from you, which I think is really powerful. Is you were saying it wasn't you said, "Hey, I'm going to be a financial planner." It was I'm seeing some gaps here. I'm seeing some holes that are in alignment with me intrinsically, with how I feel and who I want to serve. And I think that athletes tend to get that mixed up. It's just we got the high, so we want to go out and I'm gonna go sell insurance. I'm gonna sell real estate because it's just the buzz, and I want my face on a placard and that kind of stuff. Versus really taking a step back, and for you, it took 18 plus months to do that. And I think that's powerful that you actually did the work. Far too many people don't actually do the work. So, but you did the work, and worth winning was the end result. How did you end up saying, "Look, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start this"?
I think it was really, like I said, that conference was like the thing that threw me off the ledge. But like I said, I'm so passionate about filling that gap and knowing how important money is to people and emotions and the stress that it can cause. I wanted to turn that and flip it into something that was good. And so when we think of money, like, we don't want to give money any power. Money is, the people say money is the root of all evil. Make the money, don't let the money make. There's so many phrases out there that go toward, what money is, and we give power over money in our lives, and really it should be the other way around. Like I said, it's a tool to help you reach the goals that you want. And so being able to create a conversation with people and a mindset of people where, money is not this negative thing that holds you in bondage and shackles, or you need to hoard as much of it as possible in order to be happy in life. Like, it's not about that at all. You can be a $40,000 person earner a year and be incredibly happy. And, it doesn't mean that because someone else has $400,000 a year that they're happier than you. And, that's what society tells us, and that's what we begin to believe. But it's really about taking what you have, being responsible with it, and then, marking your goals, being willing to make choices that are going to help you reach your goals, and feeling good about that. And it doesn't matter how much money you have in the grand scheme of things, as long as you're pursuing it in that way. And I think just changing the conversation that people are having with and about money was the thing that was like, I can't not do this, because I tried to have some conversations with people and it didn't go well, just a regular person. So it's like, and I knew what my negative money emotions were, and I knew the way that I've been treated and the way that I started to feel about money because of the way I've been treated. And it was just like, you can't not do this. So I've got to read everything I can so that I can figure out how to do this. And the entrepreneurial life is, like you said, it's a lot of hard work. And I think there's the popular saying out there is like, we're the people that are willing to work an 80-hour week on our own so that we don't have to work 40 hours for someone else. And you really do end up working those, like you said, those 80-hour weeks. And I built this as a lifestyle practice so that, anywhere my computer is, I can still be working. But it doesn't, hinder me in the way that I got to be somewhere Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 every single day. I want to be able to serve my clients at 7 p.m. if they get, if they get off work at that time, or if they have practice and they need a 7 a.m. call. But I don't want to have to, okay, punch the clock, done. And so like in building your practice and figuring out, well, how am I going to earn a living doing this? How am I going to charge people fairly in doing this? How am I going to create a language for that people are going to understand? Like you said, to put that paragraph, like how long it took me to write that was probably like 2 weeks, because you have to get it exactly right as an entrepreneur. You have to, your brand is everything. And so in building the company, like what it took was those 80-hour work weeks, if you will, where, you woke up in the middle of the night, you're like, oh my goodness, I got to say this. Let me write that down real quick, because you're trying to build something that's just right. And of course, you never get it perfect, and you've got to launch at some point and move forward. But I put a lot of thought into, like you said, here's the gap. Here's how I want to fill the gap. What tools do I need in place to be able to fill the gap?
And you've designed it around the lifestyle that you wanted to create for yourself, which I think is really powerful. So your practice is different than your traditional financial planner. Tell us how it works. How do you work with athletes? What does it look like?
Yeah, certainly. So like you said, it's different in the sense that, like I said, we're not investment focused. I think a lot of people hear the word financial planner, financial advisor, and they think, oh, I don't have money to invest, so I probably don't need one of those. And in reality, anyone that's helping you with your finances should be able to look at, like I said, this holistic approach of all the different balls that are moving in your life as it pertains to your finances. So things that I help clients with are, like you said, from scratch, creating a budget, item by item, being able to say what goes in this envelope, what goes in this envelope. We do everything virtually, so we use apps and software and different things like that. So you're paperless. You're not looking around like trying to get your notebook together, and you log in and everything's right in front of you. And then in addition to that, like I said, student loan analysis is a really big deal for young professionals nowadays, and being able to create some analysis and explain to them, like, here's what's going on, here's your options, because there's no one that says that. Like, you get out of school and you have these student loans, and 6 months later someone tells you to pay a bill and you're like, wait, what? How does this work? I don't even have a job yet. So being able to break all the student loan jargon down and saying, like, here are your different payment options, and this is how long it's going to take. And no, it's not a terrible thing. No, you shouldn't ignore these loans. Like, let's tackle this. And then with athletes, it's just the whole idea is like we're always here, there, and everywhere. So I'm virtually, so I can work with people nationwide. But the season starts, and like you said, you got a 6 a.m. practice or you got a 6 p.m. practice. You're in Europe. If you need help, like, we jump on a video call. Like, oh, so that's one thing that most planners don't do. Like, meet with you virtually. And then, charging a regular a way that you can understand. It's not a percentage of your investments, because what if you don't have anything to invest just yet? What if you're just starting out and you're just trying to figure out, like you said, what your goals are? You don't know what a retirement fund is. In the Olympic world, all of us are independent contractors. So like you said, we are our own company. So if you need to set up an LLC, or you need to set up an S Corp, or you don't know how to get a accountant, you don't know how much you should be putting aside to save for taxes, because no one's taking taxes out of your check every time you get paid. Those are the things that we work through, and I help someone understand. It's just all things pertaining to, like, you need to set money aside for massage therapy. You need to hire a nutritionist, like, whatever those things are that are going to help you be the best athlete that you can be. Those are the things that I'm willing to sit down and facilitate and walk you through to you get to the point where you can implement those things. So it's not just, here you go, here's some ideas, figure it out for yourself, hands off. Like, it's like, what do you need? And let me help you figure out how we're going to get to the finish line of that. And definitely, it always includes planning for life after sport from day one. So, you get your very first contract and you're like, woohoo, yippee, let's go get this, let's go get this. It's like, whoa. Let's think about what we need this money for, in addition to your bills on the monthly basis. You retire from sport, and then you also retire, at age whatever it is. It's currently 67 in the normal
Hmm.
world, but
Yeah.
if you want to retire sooner, then we've got to plan accordingly for that. And just having those conversations, because no one, you're 20 something years old, you're not thinking about 67 or even your career being over if you're just starting. So having those tough conversations with people to make them realize that there's going to be some things that are going to come up, and you'd rather be prepared financially for them than not prepared, and adding the stress of finances to the transition from sport to life after sport, for example.
I love it. And just the much needed education, and not just for athletes, but for us in general,
Hmm.
that just seems to be lacking out there in the professional financial planning services. It's here's where you should just kind of point and click. I don't want to know about it. Just put my money into that fund or put money in those stocks and let's kind of do one of these things. Cross my fingers, hope and pray. Uh, but I really value that you're actually educating and supporting them through those decisions, almost kind of making us think for ourselves, which,
Exactly. Yeah, I put on my site, like you said, one of the other things that was really important to me to have on there is that my focus is on education, like you said, versus enabling. So often as athletes, we are coddled, and everybody's like, "Don't worry, you just go run. Don't worry, you just play. You just get the ball, whatever you need to do. Like everything else will be okay." And you're trusting it off to these people, and not taking an active, hands-on approach. And then like you said, the glory days come and go, and that entourage disappears, and you don't know step one of what to do, what this infrastructure is that was in place. And frequently, those people didn't know either. They were just saying, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it," and not necessarily taking care of it. I want to show you that I'm taking care of it, but I also want you to know how to take care of it. I'm happy if a client can say they graduated and it's like, "Lauren, I think I got this." Like, yeah, maybe I don't need this part of the service anymore. I'm definitely trying to build a lifetime relationship with them so that they're not going their separate way. But if at some point someone leaves, I want it to be because they feel like they're empowered and they're educated and they're ready to handle these things on their own.
so how would you compare this second chapter in life to the first chapter as an athlete now to being an entrepreneur? What's the feeling like? Is there a comparison between the two?
Oh, there's definitely a lot of characteristics from sports that transfer over into life as an entrepreneur. The simple ones are like you said, this idea of perseverance. So, like on a daily basis, as an entrepreneur, it's like, "Woohoo! This is awesome! I'm gonna win at life." And it's like, "Oh my God, why did I think of this? What am I doing? What? I need to go work for someone else. This is terrible." And then you're like, "Oh, someone called me. They want to be my client. Yay! I'm winning at life again." And that's literally every day the roller coaster of what you're going through as an entrepreneur. And I think that's similar to how we, practice as athletes. You go out there, you have an awesome practice, and you're like, "I am going to win the world championships this year." And then the next day you come and your legs are dead, and you're just like, "God, I'm so far behind the ball. I'm never going to ever win a race." And you're like, "What?" And then you realize that, like you said, every day you're building the foundation for something that's going to be great. Good practices make good races. Good races will lead you to a championship. And that's kind of how I've approached the world of entrepreneurship is, building steadily on a regular basis. Some days are painful. Some days you're sore after, from the previous day. But with time, things get better, and you have to be patient. Time is the only thing that will allow you to succeed. You don't go to one practice and then go win the world championships. You don't just in one day build a successful practice. But I've got this positive momentum going, and things are growing, and I always have to remind myself of the timeline. When are we trying to peak? And it's not right now. I'm a year old and year and 2 months old right now. And it's been a really great first year. There's a lot of metrics, and I've met the metrics, and I can say I'm ahead of the game. But then I found, like you said, in entrepreneurship as well, another way to compete. It's like, okay, well, what's the bar? This is what you need to do to be a regular planner. To succeed in the first year. This is if you're doing well in the first year. So like typically, for example, it's 2 clients. If you're bringing in 2 clients a month, you're on track to be able to become profitable within the 2 to 3 year range that these metrics say. And so I brought on it. I had 22 clients in April. So I'm right there. So yeah,
Hey,
those little things matter.
talk to me because I know as a female athlete, especially at the Olympic level, when you're looking at the sponsorship money that men get, and really the work that you needed to do to build yourself up, and you're smiling here, and now you are in a field that I guess and I may be wrong here, seems to be pretty dominated by men. Uh, Tell me about that. Tell me what is about, you, the work that you need to do to succeed and as a woman on the track and in your sport, and then now in a field that seems to be dominated by men.
I think as a true elite athlete, like the thing that makes you elite is your ability to stand out in the midst of, the most unlikely circumstances. And so we don't see uh, these barriers that they put in place that, like you said, a male sprinter is making double what I'm making. You just, instead of channeling that as an angry thing, it's like, what can I do to achieve and earn my way? And how can I be delighted in what I am getting and draw more positive energy in my direction because of that? Now given the opportunity at different, annual meeting and things like that, we do fight for what's right. But knowing and understanding that like nothing can stop me from being the best me that I can be is the thing I think that drives me forward each and every day. And so it's not been different for me in financial planning. I used the term earlier, male, stale, and pale, and that was actually a quote from the president of the CFP board, Certified Financial Planning, when he was talking about what the industry looks like and how they can better diversify it. And I'm literally the exact opposite. Like, I'm not male. Stale from the standpoint I'm young, I'm new to the financial planning industry, where most people are baby boomers and retiring, trying to figure out how to sell their practice, and I'm not pale. Like,
Right.
so here I am, like a triple minority, and instead of looking at myself where pretty much no one else looks like me, it's just like, how can I make this field more awesome? And I think that's how we show up as female athletes is how can we stand out? Those three hurdlers that swept in the Olympics this summer, they weren't saying, "Oh man, Justin probably Gatlin still made more money than all three of us put together." Like we're not thinking of it like that. It's like we're going to succeed, we're going to excel, we're going to shine, and we're going to get what is due to us by being the best us that we can be, instead of focusing on what we're not getting. We're going to draw that energy in.
I love it. That attitude of gratitude is really
Yes.
powerful. Uh, hey, what would you say to an athlete who um, maybe is going through the struggles of their post-athletic career, finding purpose, finding meaning, um, looking to do something that aligns with their passion, that gives them that same, I always call it a high, the same high that we had as athletes. Any advice you give to an athlete?
I think the main thing that I would tell an athlete who is experiencing the transition is one, you're not alone. Seek out other people that are experiencing the transition now. Seek out people who have already, conquered the transition, if you will. But the transition is something that's going to be happening on a daily basis. I am, 2 years in now, and the transition is still happening, and I embrace that. Like I feel good with where I am versus, where I was at day one of the transition. But like it's a process. Like you said, there is no timeline on it. Embrace the idea that there is no timeline on it. Take your time figuring out who it is you want to be, what it is that you want to do. And then the same thing I said earlier, no pity parties. You don't get to dwell on, oh, there were people cheering for me. Oh, I was this. Oh, maybe I should, so and so is older than me and they're still competing. I should probably still be competing. I didn't get the most out of my career. Like you can make up endless things that are going to take you backward. But what you're really trying to do is move forward. And every day is not going to be easy. It's going to be tough for quite a while, but you get up every day and you say, how can I move forward? Like you said, where is my attitude of gratitude? What am I grateful for today? How can I make the best me in this next chapter of my life? And if you approach it like that, sooner and sooner, those days will get easier and easier. The people that you put around you to support you will hold you up. And before you know it, you'll be blossoming.
I love it, and that next chapter for you really, just in your voice, in how it comes across online, the way you're talking through your business really seems to align with that. And that's a powerful piece. And there's it takes it, from what I'm hearing, it takes time to get there, and it takes work to be able to accomplish that. How can how can people work with you? How can people engage with you, do business with you? Use you as their financial planner. How Talk to me. How can people get in touch with you?
It is super simple. You can find me at Lauren C. Williams on Twitter. You can find me at Worth_winning on Twitter. Uh, Google search Worth Winning. The website is worth-winning.com. And any of those things will lead you pretty much directly to me. We set up a call. We talk. I'm, like I said, not a salesperson. I want to know that I'm a good fit for you the same way that you want to know that you're a good, the other way around. You know what I mean?
We're with you.
So we talk about your situation. We talk about the ways that I feel like I can help you. And then we go from there. If I don't feel like it's a good fit, I'm sure I know somebody in the financial planning industry that is a good fit for you. So it's just a matter of reaching out and saying you need some help, you have some questions. I'm happy to talk to anyone about what their situation is. And that's the first thing, is deciding that you want to talk to somebody about your finances, because sometimes people are so embarrassed at where they are or what they don't know, even if whether they make a good living or not. It's not poor people that are embarrassed to talk about their finances. There are plenty of people that are really great earners that don't want to talk about it at all. They know that they have enough money in the bank and they spend money and they don't want to think beyond that, but they know they need to think beyond that. So if that's you and you want to learn, you want to be educated and, like I said, not enabled, I'm willing to walk with you step by step through the process. Just reach out.
Okay, so what I'll do is if you're listening on the podcast here, I'm going to go ahead and put the show notes. I'll put all of Lauren's information, all of her social media handles, website, etc., so that you can get easy access to reaching out to Lauren. And you'll work with athletes, non-athletes as well?
I do. I work with young professionals, pretty much people in their 20s and 30s is kind of like the sweet spot, if you will. But athletes or anybody who's really, like I said, interested in working virtually, not afraid to use software, and wanting to learn about their finances. If you got student loans, like I said, that's something that I've got quite a bit of expertise in. I'm working under like a national student loan expert now. And it's something just I feel really passionate about, because there's no information out there. And there's these sketchy salespeople that are calling to tell you weird stuff about your student loans. And it's just not right. So yeah, I'm happy to help people get started and get on the right track with that as well.
Well, Lauren, congratulations on transitioning towards and the work you're doing to helping others and finding that purpose and really going after it. And of course, congratulations on all of your efforts in your athletic space and the lessons you've been able to learn to apply to this next chapter. And I just want to make a point here. In addition to the hardware that's around your neck that you've earned, you also have some new hardware on your finger. So congratulations to you and the mister. That's definitely a new chapter as well for you.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks so much.
yeah, definitely. So thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your stories, because this story is needed. Your story of the work that you've done is much needed. So I appreciate you taking the time to share.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. I'm happy to talk to anyone who is experiencing the transition, and to be a resource for you in that way as well.
All right, Lauren. Well, we're going to be following along with you, your progress.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.